The Green Goblin twisted my nipples so hard that Spidey dies? Or he climaxes?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The Spider-Man game based on my favorite Spider-Man film series. The 2000s were an era of rushing movies to games. The Star Wars prequels had them, Disney and DreamWorks had them, so they're really easy to find in the PS2's library. Several of these movie games were even released before the movies themselves, and it's funny to imagine any of these half-baked games could have spoiled the movies they were based on. It's probably one of the first big games I played on console, so I went in with my rose-colored goggles fully polished just to be smashed right in my face. Sadly, the game has not aged well. I was hoping to strike gold with an old Spidey game, but instead, it's a petrified turd. A game should be fun. The things you do should be fun.
If it's not fun, why bother?
Everything should synergize and give the player at least the illusion of control. But everything, every single thing you do in this game is unfun. Swinging around is just butt. Getting close to a building has Spidey cling to it like a magnet, and so makes all these chase sequences to the New York cityscape like having to rinse your mouth out with toilet water. Swinging is also very rigid, so navigating in between buildings like the enemies do doesn't work without trial and error to memorize the path they take. Disarming these bombs took me way too many attempts than I'd like to admit. Either I die from robots following me around while I was panicking to make time, or simply couldn't disarm all the bombs with the allotted time. And fighting the robots didn't seem to save me much time, so I'd web them up as I came in, quickly deactivate the bomb, and run the hell away as I was just barely able to get it done with 8 seconds left on the clock. Running around was frustrating as well. Spider-Man turns and moves super slow. Most modern action games will trade this realism for a quick turn speed, often instant to let the player respond to threats approaching you from different sides. But to turn around, say from front to back, Spidey has to do a little jump or slowly turn as you run forward until facing the desired direction. Does whatever a spider can? I'd rather you be able to do whatever a human being can, for the love of God. Maybe the mutated spider genes have affected your basic motor skills as well, webhead. If the levels were more fun to explore, then maybe movement would be less of an issue, but the entire game is a struggle to play. The only added incentive to explore the maps are health packs, web fluid, and combos scattered throughout the map, but most of the health and web fluid are so out of the way or hidden, it was usually just easier to keep pressing on and hoping you can beat the level as is. A great example of power-ups as an incentive to explore is Deus Ex. Augmentation canisters are found throughout the game to give the player special abilities and were very useful, so you want to check every corner of the game as to not miss any augmentation canisters. But in Spider-Man, they don't give you any real advantage and don't synergize together to make combat something fun rather than being a chore, so why would anyone explore the levels for these? Combat is, something alright. There's a huge list of combos to discover and unlock throughout the levels. I didn't find any really that were useful, and nearly none of them felt natural to pull off in mid-fight. Admittedly, this could be due to my complete impatience to even attempt to learn and test these in combat, and maybe a few of them are super cool and useful. Ultimately, I stand by combat being pretty doo-doo. It was disorienting to sling around from wall to wall with quick perspective changes. The auto-aim function was hard to change targets, thus making it hard to use ranged abilities on ranged enemies. Spidey also doesn't feel agile in the slightest. Your Spidey sense is basically non-existent, and there's no dodge button. Gobby can dodge your projectiles, but you can't even dodge a thug's punch. Sky combat was awful. All the cityscapes are bleh at best, and I only ever used 2 moves, shooting webs and the sky kick that had a tiny homing effect toward a locked-on enemy. It looks so funny to see Spidey in a kick fight with a chemical weapons terrorist of a high-tech weapons corporation when I'm dying in earlier levels from bank robbers. I know Spidey is known for overcoming more powerful opponents. That's kinda why so many people love him. It's usually his wits, not his powers, that give him the edge in any given confrontation. But nothing you do in any of these boss fights is clever or feels like it was catered to any of them. Spidey overcomes every single opponent with complete and overwhelming violence.
With great power comes great responsibility. Gonna cry?
Why? Why is one of Gobbo's special moves to twist Spider-Man's nipples to completion? I guess Gobby took attacking Spidey's heart a bit too literal.
Tell me how! The heart, Osborn. First, we attack his heart.
Any level where you have to protect someone is a dumpster fire of the highest magnitude. Protecting Scorpion is probably the worst experience the game has to offer, right next to disarming bombs with a timer. The game would have benefited from making more stealth levels like breaking into Oscorp. Hacking computers, sneaking around, and escaping killer robots feels more fun than fighting thugs or supervillains. It's not amazing, but I'd have much better things to say about the game if it was stealth-based. When I played this game as a kid, I believe I had the Xbox version because I remembered this Kraven level pretty vividly. No enemies, just traps with Kraven trying to snipe you inside a deadly funhouse. It really sucks this level didn't make it into the PS2 version I'm playing now, as I enjoy almost the Mario-style platformer it becomes for this level. Throwing things was clunky. You had the option to pick up an object or immediately hurl the object to the closest enemy. Once in a while I found it useful, but not enough that it made a notable difference. The graphics are of its generation and time. It's nothing special, but I did enjoy the villains' character designs. Shocker and Vulture have their classic looks on display, and Scorpion's look is not something I'm familiar with, but I dig it for sure. Spidey and Gob both look like they're from the movie, so there's nothing to complain about there. The warehouse level is probably my favorite out of them all. Graffiti is thrown up all over the place, broken cars and other random objects litter the floor, making it feel much more lived in. Walls are cracked and the whole building looks like it's falling apart around the thugs inside. The level with Shocker immediately feels and looks empty for Grand Central Station of New York that had 21.6 million visitors in 2008 alone, according to Wiki. But maybe that's just how it looks. Online pictures make it look spotless with shining floors, so it's probably just me assuming all train stations in New York are rat dens filled with monsters from Jacob's Ladder. I did enjoy the sewer level connected to the Grand Central Station, but I've always had a soft spot for sewer levels. Something about mucking around in grime and filth like a cave troll makes me feel right at home. Kraven's level is second right after the warehouse level in terms of look and overall design. It's bright and colorful, not another sea of bland grays. It's covered head to toe with designs on the walls, floors, and ceiling. It's truly sad it didn't make it into the PS2 version I'm playing for the review, and I'd love to know why it didn't. Maybe it was a tech problem for the GameCube and PS2, as the level is dense with moving objects and designs. Just a guess though, so take it with a large lump of salt. Also, this 40K Titan looking thing is pretty cool. Animations can look funny. Every time the goblin is flying, it looks like he's trying to pinch a loaf, or is that just me? Sound all around is okay.
Help!
The sound effects are a bit generic from whatever sound library they used. Webbing someone up sounds like you're taking a piss on them. Music does the job at filling the otherwise empty levels. You only notice something like this when recording a game without music. Spidey barely makes any sound when he runs. My favorite tunes have to be the main menu theme, since it sounds like the piracy is a crime song. That super early 2000s kind of vibe, you know? Voice acting is a bit quaint, which is another way of saying it's bad, but I enjoyed it anyways. So many of the thugs you fight have such stupid and dopey things to yell at you.
What's with the getup, chump? Mess with a skull, you pay the price. How you like me now, punk? Circus in town?
You're nothing special. Dibs on the spider.
It's weird as an adult to learn that Toby voiced himself in the game here, as I always thought it was an impersonator, but nope. Toby is such a bad voice actor, he doesn't even sound like himself.
It's going to be weird going back to the subway station after my battle with Shocker.
Being fair though, I doubt Toby had any direction when reading lines for the games, which makes it come off as stilted and monotone. William Dafoe also does the voice work of Green Gobbo. Sounds exactly like the movies, and sounds like he's having a load of fun with it.
The board can't fire me. I built this company, how dare they?
Bruce Campbell also does some voice work on the game as the tutorial guy, which was a lot of fun with him cracking jokes and teasing the player.
Web swing over to your next objective. Use your compass and height meter to find it. If you can't find it, I can't help you. Unplug the machine and walk away.
I think he also decided to just go make a sandwich during recording, and that was put in the game.
I'm gonna grab a ham sandwich. Oh, too much mustard.
Sam Raimi's Spider-Man is one of my favorite movie trilogies, and yes, that does include the immensely loved third film. I think the comic book spirit shines through while still taking the material seriously. So maybe I was a bit harsh on the game up to now, but how does the story compare? Well, it feels like an alternate universe fanfiction of the film. Key moments are just similar enough to be recognized as scenes from the film, but has a whole lot of filler in the same way an anime may add filler when adapting a manga, but the manga isn't coming out fast enough, so they invent entire random plot lines that don't affect the story beyond its immediate setting. This was probably because the development team was handed either an early screenplay, a generic outline of important events within the movie, or saw a few scenes from the film before it was released. The film sets up Spidey's origin story, a revenge tale turned on its head after Peter learns he could have prevented his uncle's death earlier that night. The game is the same here at a quick glance. Uncle Ben indeed dies, we go looking for the killer during the day, and the killer falls out the window. Then Shocker and his gang nearly hit us, and I'm not sure if he was robbing the jewelry store with Vulture. They don't enter Grand Central Station with any bags. They don't even have guns. What the hell are Shocker and crew doing? Out on the day with the boys, taking hostages for fun?
If I don't get mine, Vulture isn't getting his.
So apparently what went down earlier was Vulture flew off with the stolen jewels while Shocker made a distraction to cover Vulture's trail. That's all well and good, I guess, but did you guys really only take one tiny bag of jewels? I saw in the front window, it had a lot of jewelry still inside, guys. What the hell was in that green juice, man? If you're having some sort of Silent Hill seizure, it's time to bring it back to formula.
Tell Harry. I'm sorry.
Wait, didn't you say don't tell Harry?
Don't tell Harry.
You're kissing him with his mask on? What's going on? And that's how the whole game's story feels. Random event after random event takes place until Gobster impales himself with his glider in the exact same way as the film. The exact same way. I want to be clear, my criticism and harshness should not reflect on any of the developers who worked on the game. It clearly led to them making huge improvements with Spider-Man 2, which is a game I love to this day. Most of the things I complained about here are improved upon in the next game. This game, however, fails to stand the test of time. It's clunky and it's slow. All things open for players to do needed more work. I'm not one to dislike a janky game, but this isn't janky. This is just junk. Hope you guys enjoyed. Maybe consider subscribing for future content and throw me a like. Otherwise, have a good day, Fungoids.